delighted to welcome Chris Stout all the way from Scotland as our guest today as part of the virtual musings from the Windsong series. Good morning, Chris. It's good morning for you, isn't it?
Can you hear me, James? Over there.
I can. Hey, welcome, Chris. It's great you could be.
Lovely to see you.
Great. The same. It's great that you could be on this series, even though, you know, we would have rather had seen you at Easter time, as you were, scheduled to come out. And I actually remember making that phone call when you were in Brazil, and having to, pass on the sad news to you that unfortunately the festival had to be postponed. But thankfully, you're able to come next year. Fingers crossed, everything goes to plan. What were you doing in Brazil?
I was visiting my partner's parents. My partner Christina is from Brazil, and I'm very, very lucky to be able to go and visit Brazil maybe once a year to either to see her family, or my sister lives there as well. So my sister also found a Brazilian man. So she's married to a Brazilian guy in São Paulo, and Christina has found me and has chosen to live in Glasgow, which is really funny. So she's getting used to the weather.
Oh, right. A family life of contrasts, indeed.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's great. So, look, Chris, I just wanted to introduce you and your art to our audience. It's the first time we would have had a Shetland fiddler. Now, could you tell me? Sometimes I read in some of the the reviews and things, they call you a Scottish fiddler. Sometimes it's a Scottish violinist, and sometimes it's a Shetland fiddler. I mean, what are you, Chris?
Oh, I know. I don't know. None of them probably. I mean, I just play the fiddle. I play the violin, okay? And I was born and brought up in Shetland, in the north of Scotland. And I mean, people are, because Shetland's got quite a unique and identifiable fiddle playing style of its own, then when you come from Shetland, people just tend to say that you're a Shetland fiddler. It's quite small and pigeonholing, so for somebody like myself who likes to get out into the world and explore so much other kind of music, and then it can be, sometimes you have to shake it off a little bit, but at the same time, it's an amazing thing to be part of, and that having that tradition to come from is fantastic. So it's something in the end I'm very, very proud of.
Yeah, for sure. And as far as Shetland fiddle music goes, because I remember playing some of that on the accordion when I was young. That was part of my musical diet. And and just looking back, how could you sum up what Shetland music is? I mean, is it the melodic nature of the tunes, or is it the little ornamentations which go with it? Is it a specialized playing style, or? Yeah,
well, we have a lot of accordions in Shetland, you'll be pleased to know, but we have even more fiddles. So the fiddle is the predominant instrument, and really the character of the music is kind of defined by the fiddle playing style, which is a stringy sound, and we use a lot of open and ringing strings at the same time. When I say ringing strings, I mean just it's a sort of a self-accompanying style. So rather than just having a singular melody, we're using all the strings to either physically play or resonate and really celebrate that sound, which kind of it's a nod towards the sound you would get coming out of Scandinavia, especially Norwegian music. And Shetland's history has been very, very, very closely aligned with Norway. So it's no surprise that our styles are aligned as well. So if you take that old Norwegian influence, which we have in the character of everything, it's in our place names, our people's names, our dialect that we speak, the old Norwegian, and then you couple with that with a relatively modern, only 500-year-old relationship with mainland Scotland, then it's quite an interesting mashup, if you like, and that's kind of Shetland culture. through and through, really.
Yeah.
So that's a bit about the whole thing, but that's very much how the style of the music has developed as well.
Right. So in essence, you play a violin just like a normal violin. So there's nothing
I don't hold it
fancy.
behind my head or anything daft like that. It's just normal, under the chin.
But you studied. I mean, you studied. I mean, a lot of folk players don't take any formal education, which is neither good or bad. But I was just thinking, you actually did study the violin, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was just the way, in the first instance, it was just the way it worked out. I was brought up in a traditional environment, in a traditional household, but at the time there was, my dad plays the accordion, but so he couldn't teach me to play the fiddle. So my only way of being taught the instrument was through classical music. So I was going to school and learning classical music and learning my instrument with this music, and then coming home and playing traditional music in the house or in the community. And so that relationship between traditional folk music and classical music has just been something which has stayed with me all along. And for a while, for most of my young life, they were separate because I was being taught separately and different people's ideas. But as I got older and developed confidence in my own voice, then I realized that really I shouldn't keep these two things apart. I have to honor what I want to say, and what I want to say is very much a part of classical music and part of traditional music, and so the two things have really shaped my playing style and shaped my career. So it's something I'm really glad I did, really. Whatever I end up with, some hybrid, weird, messed up classical, folk classical, who knows? But
from Shetland, yeah.
I like it. From Shetland, yeah. It's wild. It's wild and emotional anyway. So apart from that, who cares?
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I remember, talking to my students a lot about the fact that, you can use all those different influences you've had. They're so important to, having your toolkit, so to speak. So the more tools you have, the more, possibilities you have for expressing yourself in all kinds of music. And I mean, I've seen a lot of your work. So you do a lot of different kinds of projects. So you obviously do a lot of different folk music projects, but you've also, played Bach, and you've been in contemporary music settings. For example, the Sally Beamish double concerto that you were going to play at the festival. That was that's moving into the more classical music world with influences of Scottish music. Is that something that that you've focused on purpose, or are they just kind of chance meetings with colleagues?
When I came out of studying music, then I kind of quickly got asked to join bands that were, I suppose they weren't traditional folk music bands, but they were bands that needed somebody who had a flair for folk music, but could technically weave their way around some of the other stuff. So I got involved with the salsa band. I got involved in a lot of jazz crossover projects. So because I suppose I had learned this, I got this training, then I had a technical facility, which allowed me to entertain the idea of working with these other musics and not being held into one style or another. And really that was, for those years, between 5 and 10 years maybe, of doing all these collaborations, that my education really continued, and that's when I started to develop as a musician, really, through all those collaborations. And it's been so good for me. And when I go back now and play something which I think is pure and traditional, it's lovely to bring that subtly, just all those small things back into a style, just an unaccompanied fiddle tune or whatever. I know in my mind that what's behind that tune, it might be from Shetland and it might be 400 years old, but my playing of that tune has been all over the world and played with lots of people and collaborated, and it brings it back. And so I think it's my responsibility to the tradition to give it back, that to keep the tradition moving and expanding the tradition. Yeah, it's been a great thing, and continuing, getting to meet people like you and play together.
Yeah, that's
virtually or in reality next year.
That's right. Yeah, we look forward to that. And you know, as far as, you know, back in Shetland, when you go home there and you play your fiddle to people who, you know, who live there all the time, is there any reaction to what you bring to a style? Is it very, you know, is there standard ways of doing things where there's no room for, you know, development, or, you know, is there traditionalists, or are they open?
Oh yeah, there are. I mean, I'm really, for me, the traditional thing is being well catered for. We're in a really good position where our tradition is not in danger of being lost. There are hundreds of fiddle players, and we all have our own voice, you know. So yeah, there are people who prefer a more traditional sound, if you like. There are others who don't like traditional music, and my style, and others like me, our way of playing is a way for others to appreciate traditional music, which can be quite hardcore. I mean, any pure form of any music can be quite hardcore, you know.
Yeah.
And when we want to expand out, and if I'm playing the fiddle, say, pick a place. Katrina and I were in Mozambique last year or 2 years ago, I can't remember. And you're sitting playing to a Mozambican audience, then it doesn't matter whether you're traditional or no, you have to reach people's hearts in a way that they are open to listen to your music. So you have to take the essence of what your music is about, the emotions and the descriptiveness of it, the descriptive nature of it, the landscape, the seascape, and you take all these things and you present that to an audience, then they'll be happy. If you put your head down and play like some old crofter 500 years ago, then you might just leave people alienated, you know. So, you know, it's just my own philosophy, I suppose. But thankfully, we've got a very, very solid ground in Shetland, and there are so many amazing fiddle players, absolutely representing the tradition the way it always has been. And I feel that that's just like a solid platform, you know, that is there.
Yeah. And
it's been that a platform that I've been able to jump from for all my career, all my life, basically. So I'm grateful for that, and really kind of quite honoured to be from somewhere that has that.
Yeah, well, that comes through in the way you speak about your home island, that's for sure. You know, as far as you say, it's thriving in the Shetland. So what are they doing there? Is it just because it's a family tradition that's passed down, and so you've got not as many distractions there? So, you know, music's just it's a form of entertainment which is high priority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's understandable for you to say, and for people to think about, there's less distractions, but Shetland's quite a tech place. It's quite a wealthy group of islands, you know, with the oil and the fishing, and that since the 70s has led to our economy being quite a wealthy place. And so then you get all the pros and cons that come with that. So it's not a foregone conclusion that people would be sitting around twiddling their thumbs just with fiddles ready to play for homemade entertainment. So it's amazing that it has kept going. But what it is immensely sociable. And it's literally like people meeting for a chat is in the pub or not, if you're younger or whatever. People literally, if they want to meet for a blether, they just meet for a tune. And there was a beautiful party at Christmas time there in Lerwick. Every year they have this thing called it's like the Federation of Small Businesses, meet up, and it's really every business that's got one employee and it has no intentions of ever expanding. So there's lots of self-employed musicians and sort of self-employed architects or whatever. Anyway, they all come in, and for the first couple of hours of the party, it was only musicians and nobody was talking. We were just playing away because we hadn't seen each other for about a year. And instead of saying, "Oh, what have you been up to?" You know, blethering away, we were just sitting there playing tunes and passing tunes around the circle. And that went on, and eventually everybody kind of came up for air and burst out laughing because they realised nobody had said anything. That's very typical Shetland, you know. And then had to have a pint after that, you know, for the next hour.
No, that's great. So it's obviously something, you know, Shetlanders are really proud of their tradition, and you know it's who they are, and that's a wonderful thing, yeah, to be
absolutely, yeah,
part of. Now, Chris, you've got your violin there, or your fiddle. Do you take umbrage at what people call the instrument? Because I know in the classical profession, if you said it was a fiddle, a bit like calling the accordion a box, you know, you'd be quite offended. But
no.
you're not touchy, are you?
Not at all.
No.
I mean, it just depends on the context, you know, because if you say you play the fiddle, people presume you're a folk musician.
Yeah.
And if you say you play the violin, people assume you're a classical musician. It's a bit annoying, really, because depending on who I'm talking to and what gig I might be doing, I might just call the instrument a different thing, you know, but
yeah, it's
the same hunk of wood. My fiddle was made by a guy called Ewan Thompson, and Ewan and I both come from the island of Fair Isle. Fair Isle lies between Shetland Islands and Orkney Islands, and it's just a tiny island. There's about 55 people there now, and it's about 5 kilometres north to south, so it's tiny. And that's where I was born and brought up, and also Ewan was. So Ewan was like my inspiration to, he was the young fella that was playing the fiddle that I wanted to copy, because he was getting all the attention and I was a young brat getting in. So I associated that with playing the fiddle. So so I got to learn the fiddle, and then when he went away to study how to make violins, fiddles, then he made me instruments. So this is the instrument I play. So I'm very close to this fiddle. Yeah.
Wonderful.
You couldn't expect that, were you?
Was it? It was a lovely story.
There, a wee yarn. I can see you glazing over.
No, not at all. But I was just thinking while you were talking there, I was just thinking I'm gonna have to work really hard on the subtitles for this episode. There's a lot of words there.
Sorry, I'll set up proper.
Haven't heard for a while. No, but look, Chris, all the same, it's great chatting. But you know, I would love to you know, present some of your playing, and you have prepared a beautiful little melody. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's a tune. It's a beautiful old Shetland tune. I thought of all the stuff I play, I thought just by way of an introduction, then I would play this old Shetland tune. It's called the Trowie Burn. The Trowie Burn. The trows are like the trolls. We have little trolls, not the big angry Norwegian ones, but the wee one. And the trows are the Trowie Burn would mean the trolls stream. So it's just a tune about that, and it would be many hundreds of years old, this tune. And it's one of my favorite tunes. So as a beautiful example of something just simple and beautiful, which represents the Shetland tradition and me as a fiddle player, then I thought I'd play the Trowie Burn.
Well, Chris, that was absolutely beautiful. That brings a tear.
To a glass eye. Go on,
Chris.
say it.
Oh my. Well, Chris, what are you up to now these days? So you're very, very busy, I know, touring with Catriona McKay, the Scottish harpist, who we're also going to have on one of the episodes as a guest. What's lying ahead? What's kind of
Well, not an awful lot at the moment, James. You know, we're kind of lucky as a duo. We've been working together now we've known each other for over 25 years. So yeah, I guess we've been working together 25 years as a duo. So really, we've got to the stage where most of the stuff we do is as a duo. We just travel around as a pair and we collaborate as a pair. I mean, we do our own separate things as well, but I would say 95% of our careers is together, and which is brilliant because it means you've got company. It means you've got somebody to bounce ideas off, and we've got that continuity in our life. And when things like this situation throws itself in our direction, then it's good that you have that, because there are tough moments and tough periods of time that we have to contend with. So we're both fortunate that we compose a lot of what we play, and we compose for other people as well. So probably a good proportion of our music is apart from doing concerts and the performance of music, then we also create music and compose music. So at this point in time, we're writing music for a new album. We've probably got 2 albums that we're writing for at the moment. One's just about ready to record, and the other will be maybe the end of the year or something. But we're definitely using this time creatively, which is kind of the flip side of the whole thing, because having this peace and this somebody looking down on us saying, no, you can't go out of the house, you can't go and play a concert, you can't get involved in daily life just now. It's been, on one hand, so difficult for so many people, you know, and then on another hand, creatively being able to have that peace to focus on writing and creating something from nothing. It's like, in a way, the sent from heaven, you know. It's a strange feeling. It's such a difficult time, and yet there's little silver linings, you know. Then I felt really at peace enough to write some stuff I'm really proud of. So that's for the foreseeable future, until the money runs out, like tomorrow. We'll see. Then, but certainly we're enjoying doing that at the moment. And then as things open up, I hope that closer to home, then there will be concerts will start happening again as well. And we're a duo, we're easy to move. We don't need to play through a PA system. We can just turn up and play acoustically and put on a really nice concert. So we're really simple, and it's not too difficult to imagine what the next step will be like. It just might take a wee while to get there. So we just have to chill out and wait and see.
That's right. Yeah, well, you always keep your smile, Chris, which is great, and you know, your enthusiasm and obvious passion for what you do is very evident, which is great, and you can see that in your performances as well. That you're absolutely there for the music, which is such a delight to experience. It's interesting, I've heard similar stories from a lot of my colleagues as well. That it's a time where you are forced to reflect, and it's actually quite nice to have that time where there's no pressure to be creative, and as you say, until the money runs out. But all the same, we are solitary beings, a lot of musicians anyway. We spend a lot of time practicing ourselves, rehearsing ourselves, or in very small groups, so we're not unattuned to being partly in isolation. So it's but it's all the other stuff around that as well, isn't it? Which you've just got to deal with. Yeah, it's fuel for creativity, isn't it? Somehow.
It certainly is. And also, I have to say, the sun's been shining in Scotland. It's unbelievable. Listen, it's good to be speaking to Australia, because like I've been barbecuing like an absolute maniac. Like honestly, I don't think the coals have gone out. I just keep on stocking up the fire every night, you know, and then keep it going. So the sun is shining and it's so nice. So I think everybody here is sort of thankful for small things, and people are much more aware of the nature and all that. So my big thing is barbecue, and that's kept my mental health good.
Well, you'll be very welcome in Australia with that attitude, and it's lovely to see you with a t-shirt on as well, Chris, because it's usually
I should have had my sunglasses. But we can't wait. We're so excited. I mean, it was devastating to hear the news that the festival was going to stop. I mean, it was absolutely the right thing, and you know, we were so aware of it. It's been a tough time for all of you in Australia as well, and we've been in the news so much for so many different reasons. But it's a tough a tough end for the festival not happening. But we're very, very excited. The good thing is we still get to look forward to it, and we get a year more of anticipation. So it's been quite a few years since we've been in Australia. So bring it on! Can't wait. I'll be wearing my t-shirt there as well.
Well, we're absolutely looking forward to welcoming you down to Bermagui as well, and and to present all your music making. So we've got one more piece of music which we've prepared. Would you like to introduce that for us?
Yeah, we're going to play it together. Are we not?
We are indeed.
This is actually this is one of my favourite one of Catriona's tunes. She wrote this beautiful waltz for the late Louise McKay, and it's a gorgeous tune that Catriona wrote. So we'll play this. It's called Louise's Waltz.
Chris, I can't. That was one way of performing. It wasn't in the same room, but it still works somehow. But what I'm really looking forward to is being on the stage with you, and your contagious laugh and your humor and your spontaneousness. All comes out in your music making as well. And I can't wait to be able to present your music making when you get to Australia. So.
Listen, the good thing about this, doing all this music over the internet like this, is when we get to Australia, we'll not be needing to rehearse at all.
That's
so we'll
right.
just get down to it. So
we'll be informed. That's right.
Absolutely, I'll be hit the ground running. Just watch me go.
It's great. Well, Chris, thanks so much for being on on this series. It's something completely new for us to give, to present to our community. It's not as bad as we first thought it was going to be, speaking over the internet and, recording in opposite sides of the world. But somehow, when you know people, you do get that sense that you can actually make music together anyway, which it's quite an interesting thing to experience, and makes me look forward to even more for the real thing when it comes along.
And like you, like me, I can see we've both got a good makeup artist as well, so we're fine, eh?
We'll leave it at that, Chris, before we go any further.
No bother.
Hey, thanks a lot, Chris Stout. Thanks, man.